The Chicago Bulls get punked again by the Milwaukee Bucks. LeBron James sets the all-time NBA scoring career record, while Caitlin Carr breaks her record for all of college basketball. Baseball spring training still continues, and NFL free agency is upon us, and Caleb Williams is a done deal to the Chicago Bears. That and a whole lot more as the Monday edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to the Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, at Candace and the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you fools to bill and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you can catch Sports Zone Chicago, not now, but right now, live in the living color on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download their Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Android, your Chromebook, or your PC, just head to the Google Play Store and download that Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we will provide you with all the fun here in this first Monday of March here on Second City Sports. Of course, as Sid said in the teaser, Caitlin Clark breaks the all-time score record for both men's and women's college hoops. As the season winds down on the men's side as well, some interesting things could be positioning here. Maybe some new bubble teams. We'll see. Also, to Old School TV Monday, we go to the City of Angels. We'll tell you which show we're ordering in just a second. Also, too, of course, the Bulls got the Friday night little whatever, and the more records for LeBron James to break, but was broken, and an interesting weekend in the NBA. But first, the NFL Combine has concluded. We'll talk about it all. We're not gonna go into all like the hubbub of it all, but Ryan Pauls was making the rounds of some of the places in Minneapolis this weekend. There were various people who had their opinions on what the Bears might do with the number one pick, and here's what Paul said with an interview with Pro Football Talk.
How do you balance, quarterback, player, but I could trade down and we could make the team that much better too.
Yeah.
Take us inside that a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard to take you inside that. It's very complicated. It keeps me up late at night just thinking all the different scenarios. Again, I'll just lean on the fact that it's a really good opportunity to keep building what we're building, regardless if that's from a quarterback standpoint. or if that's trading back or just picking where we sit right now. I know that we can continue to get better, and I want to be a playoff team next year and keep moving this needle so we can reach that big game.
Do you still want to stay in the top 10 like you did last year if you would trade down? Does that make it more enticing to you?
We got to look at that as well. I talked about it last year. It really depends on how many of those top guys we have on our board. That'll dictate how comfortable we feel moving back. Because there's that certain tier, your blue chip guys that you want to make sure you get in a certain range. And sometimes there's a drop off. You don't want to find yourself on the other side of that drop off. So we'll take, the volume of those top players into the equation.
And of course, that's from NBC Peacock. That was Ryan Poles, Bears GM with Pro Football Talks, Mike Florio and Chris Sims. So what did you take from those comments? I mean, I know he said that Poles said he wants to be a playoff team next year, and he didn't really say whether or not he was keeping Fields, is keeping everything very close to the vest. The league year starts next week, so it's going to be interesting to see what his mindset's going to be. Because if he is going to make a move to trade Justin Fields, he's going to have to do it perhaps maybe before the week is out.
He didn't say anything too revealing. I know why most of the media is there, so they can get you in a gotcha moment. But Ryan Poles, as we said before, Lakina, he's playing this close to the T. He has to keep all options open because you never know what's going to happen, especially as you mentioned with the new league year, i.e. free agency kicking off next week. But here's the thing, Lakina, as he said, and I'm going to keep harping on this point right now through next week, through the draft, through training camp, and through the beginning of the season. This Bears team needs to make the playoffs next year. Why? Because your head coach, Matt Eberflus, is entering year number 3. His first 2 years, he hasn't won. Number 2, your GM, Ryan Poles. I don't think he'll be fired if the Bears don't make the playoffs next year, but he knows that seat is getting hot right now. And if he passes up on a quote-unquote generational type quarterback this time, he could be gone sooner rather than later. So he's keeping all his options open. Even though as well as many of you listeners and viewers out there listening to us that I am a Justin Fields guy. I want the Bears to keep him so they can build around him. It looks like it's not going to happen with if you believe all the reports that's been out there over the last few weeks and the tone has been all the last half of the last season. But Ryan Poles is saying anything too earth-shattering to me. He's keeping all his options open, and he's got to make calculated moves because like he said in that clip, he wants to make the playoffs next year. And many fans think that Caleb Williams is your savior. Good luck with that. But whether you like it or not, pressure is going to be put on the young man for this Bears franchise to make the playoffs. They haven't made the playoffs since 2020, the COVID year. It's been too long. So each move that Ryan Poles makes, it's got to be the betterment, not for Caleb Williams, but it's got to be the betterment for this franchise going forward.
You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakita McGee, Cindy Brown with you. And so I think for me, and on this, I think, look, has he already decided? I don't know. But, of course, he's got to play a little bit of, chicken and play a little bit of chess. But if the rumors are true and that some teams are very hesitant to want to, get rid of, a sizable haul for, to give to the Bears, look what happened with the Panthers. So I think for me, it's going to be interesting to see, whatever move he decides to make, whether he keeps Fields or trades it, and perhaps maybe, drafts Caleb Williams. It's going to be a little bit interesting because he has to produce whoever it is, whether it's Fields or Williams, because you still got to you still got to address other issues. You got the O-line, extra O-line help. You need another D-line, you need another edge rusher, you need another wide receiver. So it's not just like an end-all be-all with just whoever the quarterback's going to be. This is going to be some moves that you're going to make, and you get that they get that little bump up in the salary cap with the extra $30 million. But I think he's going to be very conservative with it. So we'll see. You got. We have to comment a little bit in a second, but I just think that I don't think we'll see it will pull us aside because whatever happens, and if that person's a producer or if it's bad luck or whatever, it's really, I don't want to say it's a make or break for the Bears this season coming up, but it kind of is.
Yeah, like I said, Matt Eberflus, your head coach, is entering year number 3, and if you have a new quarterback, that pressure is going to be put on him as well, fair or unfair. But here's the thing, and I would like to piggy off your point, Lakina. If Brian Poles is playing conservatively, he's going to draft Caleb Williams and trade Justin Fields for a second-round pick, and whether the other compensation comes after that. But if he's smart, he'll trade one of those picks, the first-round picks. They're either the number 1 pick or the number 9 pick. Like you said, they have other issues that needs to be addressed on this team. You still need a couple offensive linemen. I think you'll get a center in free agency next week. But this is a good year for offensive tackles, and it's definitely a great year for wide receivers. I don't think they'll have too much of a problem. Again, the wide receiver, I don't think it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr., unfortunately. But, I like that kid Odunze from Washington, and there's a couple other guys that's been creeping up on the list. I'm sure you'll mention one of them in a minute. The Texas wide receiver that broke the speed record at the combine. But I think they'll get a wide receiver there. But you still need a pass rusher, and you need to pay Jalen Johnson. And I'm sure it wouldn't help to get an extra defensive back there in that draft as well.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy, who you're talking about, who broke the from Texas, who broke the 40 at the combine, the 4.11. I guess that was the official the official record. So I know he's actually one of the top prospects, kind of like a second tier guy. So it's not like this is one of those cases where, it's just some guy that came out of nowhere. I mean, he was a second team all Big 12 at Texas. Also, of course, Malik Neighbors, who, of course, from LSU, was all SEC. So that's another name that's being thrown around. Perhaps maybe the Bears could look at should they decide to trade back from that number 9 pick. So we'll talk more NFL later on in the show, but it's going to be very interesting to see if Poles decides, well, you know what, which route he takes, because you're probably going to make another step this year. I know you say he wants to make the playoffs next year, but that's why I say you got to take steps. You can't go from near the basement to all the way up to the penthouse. That doesn't work that way. You got to kind of gradually go up, and it'll be interesting to see what's what they did, what Poles decided to do, with the Bears. Like you said, could they, get a center or another tackle with free agency? Of course they can. They got the money. Could they draft maybe a wide receiver, maybe draft another D-line guy, maybe, but or a pass rusher, perhaps. But I don't want, like I said, I don't want this to make or break for Poles, but there's going to be it's going to be under a microscope whatever he does.
Like I said, I don't think next season is going to be a make or break for Ryan Poles as far as losing his job. But if the Bears don't make the playoffs next year, that seat is going to get even hotter. But the seat right now is hot for Matt Eberflus, your head coach, is going to be entering year number 3. That's going to be the first casualty, excuse the expression, if the Bears don't make the playoffs in 2024. I think that Ryan Poles has an idea in mind, but like we've been saying, he's keeping it close to his chest. He's not tipping his hand. I know that's what everybody in the media wants him to do, just slip up and tip his hand, but he's got to keep all options open. I think he has an idea what he wants to do, and I think it may be drafting Caleb Williams. Let's just say that does happen. You still got to accumulate all the picks. Would you keep that number 9 pick and draft that stud wide receiver, or would you trade that and get another future first-round pick for next year and accumulate a couple more picks for this upcoming draft? That's what I would do. You know me, I would like to keep Fields personally, but what I think is going to happen is they'll draft Caleb Williams, and that number 9 pick is a 50-50 shot if they keep it or trade to accumulate more picks.
Could be interesting what he does. Still to be continued, as they say. So we'll talk some more NFL later on in the show, because we had a retirement announcement that came across the wires about a half hour ago. So we'll talk more about that in a second. Other NFL stuff as well. Could be some big signings that happened. The one that happened this morning, the one that happened a couple of days ago. So we'll talk about that. But first, of course, we're going to go to the hardwood as the Bulls stay. Let's just say I don't know how you feel. So I didn't stay up late to watch that game against the Bucks on Friday. That pretty much covers it for what I felt about it. But and another record for LeBron James, and also to some interesting NBA news as the West is starting to kind of see something back and forth. So a lot to talk about after this break. The NBA, Second Seed Sports, Sports Chicago, Keenan McGee, Cindy Brown, basketball talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports of the Monday edition. We're live in the 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, Lakina's going to get an IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left or so in this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk radio show. If you have any questions or comments for us, don't be afraid. Just type it in the comments section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. The best ones will get put up on the screen for you by Lakina.
All right, so let's go to the NBA as the Bulls lose to the Bucks 113-97. Yay. 9:00 games. Well, unfortunately for the Bulls, all their games going to start after. Most of their games this week are going to start after 8. So sorry, folks, if you're hoping to get
because they're on the West Coast this week.
Yes, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it looks like the Bucks are actually starting to figure it out, I guess. Giannis is, of course, you know how much he loves playing the Bulls. He had 46 points, just right up there, a season high. Dame only had 16 points, so he did struggle from the field, but they didn't really need him too much. And well, as for the Bulls, the losing effort, 22 points by Kobe White. Vooch got ejected. He had 17 points. DeRozan, not his best shooting night, 12 points. I mean, all 5 stars were double figures, but yeah, just too much Milwaukee.
Yeah, Alex Caruso also picked up a technical foul. On the flip side, Pat Bev, the newly acquired guard from the Philadelphia 76ers, he came back home and showed up his former team in the crowd what he's made of. He made a couple of big 3-point shots in that fourth quarter to basically put that game away. And as he usually does, he plays hard on those defense. He did that on Friday night, especially in that fourth quarter. And Milwaukee ran away with the game. Lakina, I'll keep saying this until the end of the season. Given the teams that are around the Bulls, with the exception of the Orlando Magic and perhaps the Indiana Pacers, I believe they're still in sixth place right now. The Bulls going to lap into the play-in, no pun intended. Even though it's a miracle, to be honest with you, they're 4 games under 500 after all this mess. Of course, with Zach LaVine and Patrick Williams both being out for the year, Kobe White's been struggling ever since the All-Star break. I know Alex Caruso, minus the technical foul on Friday, I know he's been injured here and there. I know you starting to depend on you got to depend on the young guys to a lesser extent with Dalen Taylor and Julian Phillips, and you picked up a couple of other guys after the Patrick Williams injury. Lakina, maybe this road trip is the best thing for him. I'm trying to find a silver lining. I don't know, but you're playing. I believe you're playing Phoenix. I know you're playing the Clippers on Saturday. We'll get to them in just a minute. You're playing the Clippers. You're playing the Sacramento Kings starting tonight. Yep. And I believe you play Phoenix on Wednesday. If I'm mistaken, please correct me. And you have a back-to-back Wednesday and Thursday, and then you play the Clippers on Saturdays. Lakina, maybe there's a silver lining here. Maybe they can still a win or two out of this 4 or 5 game road trip. I think there'll be a miracle road trip at this point. I don't know where the consistency is going to come from. Especially after what happened last Friday. I'm trying to find a silver lining, but maybe you can help me out. I don't know.
well, they play. They don't play Phoenix this road. They play Utah. That's probably
Utah. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, Wednesday they play Utah.
That's probably the only sure win on paper right now. Even that is not a 100% guaranteed.
Well, Utah's kind of been up and down lately, so we'll be interested to see. This could be a 50-50 there for them in that game. But yeah, they do play Golden State. They do play Sacramento tonight, and they may not be in a very good mood, Sacramento. We'll tell you why in a second. But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the Bulls do, because they may steal a couple of these games. That's just how weird. That's kind of just how weird the league has been this year. So it's kind of one of those things where you're sort of like, if you just win, like if you go 2-2, I mean you'll take it if you're a Bulls fan. 3-1 might be a bit of a stretch. 4-0, that's not happening. So if you at least get to like 500 in this West Coast trip, I mean, you could perhaps steal the Jazz game might be your best shot, and you may steal one of these other 3 games, considering how Golden State may not be in a good mood, but after what happened yesterday. But I mean, the Bulls they are what they are. I want to steal the late great Diddy Green from a different sport. They are who you thought they were. So it is what it is. They're gonna get to the play-in, and whatever.
And that's your Bulls talk for today on Second City Sports.
Blow the capper there. So let's talk about the rest of the NBA, Sid, because I know you're getting. Yeah, I'm also we're both getting upset. So let's go to some good basketball here. We'll start with last night's games. OKC beat Phoenix, which turned out to be a thriller. The Thunder were up by as much as 18. Suns actually came back. This is about Devin Booker, by the way. Came back, actually took the lead, but I think they ran out of gas. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander made some big shots late. He had 35 points. Bradley Beal with his best game this season. For the Suns. Since joining the Suns. So yeah, like I said, a very solid comeback. I give the Suns credit for coming back for as far back as they did, but I think that kind of was just too much for him late. And it was actually Jalen Williams who was actually kind of made some big shots for the Thunder to kind of keep the Suns at bay.
Yeah, I told you he's their unsung hero. I keep telling you, he's been having sneaky good games for this Thunder team all season long. We talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with Joel Embiid being out for Philadelphia. Alexander, according to many, is your front runner for MVP right now, and the Thunder are still holding on the top, trying to get to that top spot in the Western Conference. I still believe they're number 2 right now behind Minnesota. Phoenix, as I said all year long, health is the key, and getting that continuity together in time for the playoffs. As you mentioned, they missed Devin Booker last night, but when you spend all the energy coming back from 18 points, 20 points, usually 9 times out of 10, you don't have enough energy to to finish off the comeback. You still need some breaks to go your way. Phoenix didn't get all of it last night, so congrats to the Thunder on a big win on the road. I think this is going to help their confidence as we are closer we get to the playoffs. I know, including yours truly, talk about this team not having any playoff experience. Yes, you have to get to the playoffs, play in the playoffs to get experience, but games like this, what happened last night, well, put it in your memory bank because it's going to help you moving forward if you use it the right way.
Could be a good confidence booster from the Thunder. So we'll see what happens. Spurs, in a mild upset, they beat the Pacers 117-105. Victor Wembanyama had 31 points. And, unfortunately for, look, I told you about Indiana, Sid. I've been telling you right for the last couple of months. The 3-point shot kind of let them down. And the Wembanyama and the Spurs were able to take advantage of that.
And number two, they cannot play defense.
That too.
Rick Carlisle has
Yeah, you need that in the Eastern Conference playoffs, right? So you need to play defense. So that might be the thing that kills them.
I know Rick Carlisle has the same hairstyle that I do, but if any hair decides to grow out of his head, he's going to pull it. But it's a long year. These things happen, and hopefully, if you're the Pacers, you have to get back on track because, as I mentioned, it's a battle between 4th and through 6th right now. Not only you have Indiana, but you have Miami and you have Philadelphia, which we'll talk about in a minute. So the middle of that Eastern Conference, everybody thinks is safe and secure. Not so fast.
No, speaking of that, the Knicks beat the Cavs 107-98, and this is despite the Knicks losing Jalen Brunson to a knee injury. We don't know what the scope of that is. We'll see if it comes out during the show. But Dante DiVincenzo had a career high 28 points. He kind of picked up the slack once. Well, of course they were teammates at Villanova, so of course they were going to pick up the slack for one another. But if Jalen Brunson is going to be gone for a little bit, hopefully Randall comes back and Nubly, hopefully he comes back too. But look with Tibbs teams, we've seen this movie before. Unfortunately, guys run out of gas, they get hurt. We'll see. But that nice win by the Knicks, though, nonetheless.
Outside McBride, you really did get much from your bench, but here's the thing, looking about the Knicks, as we said before, we said it during the All-Star break, they need all guys healthy going into the playoffs. Hopefully that injury with Jalen Brunson is not as serious as we suspect right now. And so you're a couple of weeks away from Julius Randle and or OJ Anunoby returning. Hopefully those guys are not being rushed back because Brunson is injured, because they'll really hurt their chances come playoff time. But you think that the Knicks were ascending, which they were right before the All-Star break, but the injury bug has really hit them hard. So let's see what, like you said, what Coach Tibbs does within these next couple of weeks.
Should be interesting there. And even though Scotty Barnes is going to be out for a while with a fracture in his shooting hand, the Raptors actually got a nice win against the Hornets, 111-109. RJ Barry, I think he's going to have to pick up the slack now that Barnes is going to be out. And the Raptors, we'll see what they can do, without Barnes. Hopefully he'll be back soon. But nice win for them still.
Yeah, two bad teams going at it. Looking at, I don't know how far the Toronto Raptors are out mathematically from the 10th spot, but without Scotty Barnes, you can almost count them out this year as far as making the playoffs are concerned.
Probably so. Orlando, no trouble with Detroit. An interesting one here. The Clippers edge out the T-Wolves 89-88, which is, this is actually a very strange game if you think about it. A nice little layup there by Kawhi from Harden to help edge out the T-Wolves later. The nice one for the Clippers. A game that they really needed.
Yeah, don't forget Norman Powell, who's going to pick up that extra slack due to the injury of Russell Westbrook last Friday night in their win over the Washington Wizards. Norman Powell scored 24 points yesterday. I did watch the majority of this game live via this computer screen. It was airing opposite of that Golden State Boston game. I watched the Clippers telecast from KTLA, and they put up a statistic about what the Clippers record is during the season with them being in the clutch. With your team is within 5 reports, leading or trailing with under 5 minutes to go. During the first 10 games of the season, the Clippers were 2-8. With the win included yesterday, their record is now 15-4. With the game is within reach with 5 minutes left to go in the game with 5 points or or less. So the Clippers are finding a way to win these close games. You mentioned Kawhi Leonard had that big shot yesterday. They also had a couple of key defensive stops too yesterday. So the Clippers are getting it done on both ends right now.
Yeah, and like you said, with Russell right now, who knows how long they're going to have to get guys like Powell and guys like that to kind of pick up the slack for him. So we'll see if they can keep it up. Speaking of that Celtics Warriors game, 140 to 88. It was 82-38 at halftime. I ended up switching to Michigan Ohio State on CBS. That's how I felt about after losing after this game. They were the Warriors are 7 for 41 from 3-point range. That's not going to get it done. Steph Curry was 0 for 9. Yeah.
I think him and Klay Thompson both combined for 6 points.
yeah, they did. Yeah. Jason Tatum, happy belated 26th birthday to him. He had 27 points, leading the way there. Also, Jaylen Brown had 29. They led the way, and they didn't shoot well. If you're the Warriors, this is like one of those games where you just want to burn the tape. Just burn the tape and just just forget about it. Just forget about it.
And they'll take it out on the Bulls at home on Thursday. So I think that's an easy prediction to make right there.
Yeah, take the over. Yeah, 43 points for Steph. Already calling that game against the Bulls on Wednesday. Yeah, so just burn the tape. Just burn the tape. Lester Quinones had 17 points, which was a career high. He was the leading scorer for the Warriors. Yay! I guess you can keep that up. You're the second season Sports Chicago and Keenan McGee sitting around with you. Recapping this weekend in the NBA. The Sixers with a couple of big wins this weekend. Here on Sunday in the first game of that doubleheader on ABC. Beating the Mavs 121-16. Tobias Harris 28 points. It looks like maybe the Sixers should say maybe they're figuring it out a little bit. You say but one Harris to step up.
Yeah, he finally heard the call. It took a little bit long enough, but I guess he heard our call and he stepped up big yesterday. Of course, we talk about Tyrese Maxey. He's the leader of the team, first-time All-Star, but it's up to other guys like Tobias Harris and Nicholas Batum and some of those other young veterans to help guide this team while Embiid is out. And they did that yesterday, and they had a couple of key stops defensively late in the stages of that game too.
Yeah, Kelly Oubre Jr. had 21 off the bench, so that definitely was a big showing. This is by Luka having another triple double, so I think he leads the league in triple doubles this year. So a nice win for the Sixers. You'll take that if you're Philly. That was a win that they really needed. So congrats to them and a big win there. Now to Saturday's games. Houston beat Phoenix. Jalen Green had 34. 30 points for KD, but the shooting struggles is just. Like I said, the Suns, like you said, health is going to be a big factor here. Now Booker did have 24, but between him and KD, that was really all the offense that the Suns had that game.
Also, rebounding is going to be a problem for the Suns too, especially if they're not shooting well, because outside of Nurkic, they don't have anybody to go get a rebound, especially from the inside. And so that's going to be a problem right there. On the flip side for Houston, can we give their head coach Ime Udoka credit here? I know that there's still a couple of games out of the 10th spot in the West for the play-in tournament, but don't be surprised if they make it. I know they have Fred VanVleet from the native of the state of Illinois on their team, former Toronto Raptor and 2019 world champion. And they still have a couple other young guys that they're trying to groom. But that Houston Rockets team is not one to sneeze at.
Yeah, they gave the Bulls a hard time too earlier this year.
Yeah.
So they're going to give teams fits. That's a very nice young squad, and like I said, Udoka has had his guys playing very well. So we'll see if they could be a dangerous team if they do make the play-in. So watch out for them, perhaps. 124-114. The Nuggets beat the Lakers, but rest of LeBron James becomes the first guy to score 40,000 points, over 40,000 points, I should say, in the NBA. The first player to do that. Jokic had another double-double, but I know our buddy Big Dave Watson from CHGO Bulls. I know that he's been telling the Nuggets, and look, I would say, Murray had 24 points, so it looks like that ankle is not bothering him too much. That's something to look out for is there. But yeah, they are starting to get hot. I'm talking about the Nuggets, so we'll see. The Lakers, on the other hand, you thought that maybe they were starting to figure it out, but they have not. And yeah, it's a little disconcerting if you're a Lakers fan. You should feel like.
And also, 17 points for Anthony Davis is not going to get it done. I know Stephen A. Smith ran hard at him on the post-game show last Saturday night following the Lakers' loss. But the Denver Nuggets, I'm not going to say they weren't playing uninspired ball, but the Lakers, you could tell they were trying to get that record of LeBron James out the way. They actually used that momentum throughout the first half, but they ran out of gas in the fourth quarter. Outside of LeBron James, no one else offensively decided to step up. You saw Nikola Jokic, you saw Jamal Murray, which we thought that he wasn't going to play due to that turn his ankle last Thursday night at home against Miami. He played well on Saturday. Both those guys made big shots, and Denver came away with a 10-point victory on the road.
Yeah, a lot of fun. That could be getting dangerous there too. So we'll see. Portland pulled away from Memphis in overtime. Miami, they edged out Utah 126-120. And to cap off the Saturday games, you got Brooklyn over Atlanta 114-102. Going into Friday's games real quick, you got the Clippers. No trouble with the Wizards. I know they had to pull away late because it was a little bit close there for a little bit with them, but they were able to pull away there. The Pelicans with a nice win over the Pacers, and lack of defense for the Pacers. So you want
I'll just put my last string out. Ow!
yeah, right, exactly. Britta Ingle had 34 for the Pelicans, and the Pelicans look really good too. This is look. I got a chance to watch this game. Sacramento with a nice 4-point win against the T-Wolves in overtime.
Yeah, Sacramento. I know they took a small step back this year because everybody is gunning for them from what happened last year, but they're still a very good team. De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, Malik Monk, last year's Sixth Man of the Year candidate. You'll see them step their games up tonight as they face the Chicago Bulls. But on the flip side, for the Minnesota Timberwolves, even though they're a very good defensive team to be in the Western Conference, head coach Chris Finch is doing a great job with that squad. But they've been struggling, losing their last two games. You saw it yesterday as their offense kind of spurted in that second half. And of course, last Friday they couldn't get that big basket against Sacramento.
Yeah, absolutely. And Monk, with those 35 points, becomes the only NBA player in the last 25 years to score those 35 plus points, including he made 7 threes. So that's in those last 5 minutes, 5 plus threes in the last 15 minutes of regulation and in overtime. So it was actually his hot shooting that helped the Kings hold off the T-Wolves. Portland over Memphis. Golden State, they beat Toronto. Boston and beat Dallas, I should say, 138-110. No trouble there. Jason Tatum had 32 points. And look, we know about the Celtics. We know that they can score. They can score. We've been seeing in the last few games. My thing is going to be, will they run out of gas? That's you said, and I've said this for the last couple of months. Are they picking too soon? I think that's really going to be the key. And can Boston get to that finish line? I know Taylor's very adamant on this, and I think Brown has too about wanting to get to the finish line. They know what happened last year, especially in the playoffs. They lost early, so they want to kind of get to that promised land. And I don't want to say this is a make or break year for them, but it's starting to kind of feel like they're playing with a little sense of urgency.
Yeah, especially with the contract that Jaylen Brown received over the summer last year. Yeah, Jason Tatum, people are waiting for him to take that next step. We talked about their lack of bench players. Lakina, I know they got some major run yesterday because the game was a blowout, but we'll see who steps up coming off the bench come playoff time. I know you have Pritchard. I know you have that rookie Sam Hauser we talked about early in the year. I really like that kid a lot, but those starters they're gonna have to really log in some minutes here come playoff time. Drew Holiday, he's gonna have to step up as well.
Absolutely. They're really going to need him once the playoffs start. He's really going to have to step up and whatnot. Sixers to cap off this weekend's games, this past weekend's games, I should say. The Sixers beat the Hornets, and Cleveland held off the Pistons by 10. And
shout out Monty Williams.
yeah, exactly.
Even though they lost, but that team is playing. That team is playing much better over the last week and a half or so.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, whenever we went to that like 27 game, what was it, 28 game losing streak or something. I mean, it wasn't like they were blown out by a lot of those games. They were right there at most of them. So,
and they took it out on the Bulls last week.
yeah, I know, right? Especially at that's a whole different story there. Going to this week's games. Monday tonight, you got Memphis and Brooklyn. The first game of the NBA TV doubleheader, you got Milwaukee hosting the Clippers. Maybe an NBA Finals preview, perhaps. Maybe we'll see. Portland and Minnesota, Washington and Utah. Of course, we talk about the Bulls and Sacramento. Take the over on that one. And the last game of the NBA TV doubleheader for tonight, you got OKC and the Lakers. Hopefully, AD shows up this time.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Tomorrow, Tuesday, your schedule looks like this. Orlando will travel to Charlotte to take on the Hornets. The Celtics and the Cavaliers, Boston and Cleveland. That's the first game of the TNT Tuesday night doubleheader. Other games will have Philadelphia at Brooklyn, Detroit at Miami, Atlanta at MSG to take on the injury-riddled New York Knicks. Remember, for Atlanta, no Trae Young. On the flip side for the Knicks, maybe no Jalen Brunson. We'll see what happens there. The round out the rest of the schedule for Tuesday, we have New Orleans at Toronto, San Antonio at Houston in the Texas two-step battle there. Mm-hmm. Indiana at Dallas. Who's going to play defense in that one?
Take me over.
In second half of that Tuesday night TNT doubleheader will feature the Phoenix Suns at Denver to take on the world champion Nuggets.
That should be a fun one. Hopefully Booker will be up for that game. Wednesday's games, you got Orlando and Washington at 6, Cleveland and Atlanta at 6:30, Memphis and Philly, in hopes of keeping up their role going. The Clippers and the Rockets, the first game that ESPN Wednesday night doubleheader. I'm glad the Rockets getting some love nationally. Chicago, they're still out west. They face Utah at 8. Also, 8 o'clock, the last game of the ESPN doubleheader. You got the Warriors hosting the Bucks. That should be a fun one. OKC in Portland, and I'm a little surprised this game was on ESPN, but I guess they want to kind of change up a bit. You got Sacramento and the Lakers.
They're giving the Lakers a much-needed break for the moment. Your schedule for Thursday looks like this. Brooklyn will visit Detroit. Minnesota will face Indiana. Miami and Dallas in a rematch of the 2011-2006 NBA Finals. That's the first game of the TNT Thursday doubleheader. Other games are as follows. Toronto at Phoenix. Celtics at Denver, the second half of that TNT Thursday night doubleheader. San Antonio will face Sacramento. And, of course, the Bulls will take on the Warriors in San Francisco.
And that is your schedule for this week in the NBA. Take the over on that Bulls-Warriors game. And I know that Steph and Clay are going to take it out on the Bulls. We're already calling it. So
yes.
Take the over.
It ain't hard to tell.
It's not going to be pretty, folks. I have a feeling. All right, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up here on Second City Sports. College hoops, it's the last week of the regular season. And, of course, Caitlin Clark breaks another record, the all-time score record for both men's and women's college hoops. Also, too, we're going to talk some more NFL. Some big news came down the pipe. We're also played tribute to one of the all-time great reporters for the NFL. We'll talk about that and Old School TV Monday and a whole lot more. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Got a lot more fun coming up right after this.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports. We're live in 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. This is the Monday edition you're listening to, along with Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brownhead. That's me. You can follow your shooting on Twitter, X, and the IG at CKid80. Once again, it's CKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
We have less than an hour left of this extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, don't be afraid. You can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeem will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand on Roku TV.
Okay, Sid, the last week of the regular season, college hoops on the men's side, anyway, and we'll start with our local teams. Illinois with a nice win against Wisconsin at the Kohl Center. They were actually honoring Howard Moore, who actually coached here at UIC. Of course, was a star at Wisconsin with Michael Finley in the game back in the early 2000s. Sadly, a car accident took the lives of his wife and daughter and left him paralyzed. But it was a very emotional moment. If you guys didn't see it, I'm sure the Wisconsin athletics, they have it on their social media pages. But a really sweet moment. But Marcus Thomas loves playing Wisconsin. He scored a career high 31 points, but in a really nice win for Illinois and a very emotional day at the Kohl Center.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say this statement with all due respect to the situation. Like, I did watch all of that game on Big Ten Network. You could tell that all the love that Howard Moore received from the fans there. He wanted to jump out of that chair, but of course he can't because he's paralyzed. But, it was a very emotional moment, not only for the players, but for the coaching staff and for the entire school. So I'm glad they honored him. I know they wore some special shirts honoring Howard Moore during the game. But as far as the actual game itself, Lakina, you mentioned Marcus Dozmak had a career high 31 points in his return to his home state. His parents were sitting in the stands. I know Coleman Hawkins didn't do too much, but Lakina, we have a go-to guy that's willing to sacrifice his body and make that big basket. That's what Marcus Dozmak did on Saturday. And Lakina also, too, Terrence Shannon Jr., since his return almost a month ago, he's really made a huge difference on this Illini team. And as we said before, we'll keep saying until their season concludes, hopefully in Phoenix at the Final Four in a good way. But when the Illini, especially in that first half, when they're making all that shots from beyond the arc and they use that athleticism in transition, they're a very hard team to beat. When they're not making that shots and they're forced to do something different offensively, that's when they fail. And I'll say this today, and I'll say this throughout the tournament. If the Illini should the Illini get to the Final 8 or Final 4, it'll be not just because of their shooting, but it'll be because of two guys with Marcus Delsman and Coleman Hawkins leading the way. But their deficiency, the reason why they won't get to the Sweet 16 Final 8 or Final 4 it's because of their defense. Just like we talked about with the Chicago Bulls. They lack defense, especially with the interior. And I saw it again a little bit, especially in that second half at Wisconsin. They let guys in the lane too many times, and it kills me. And that's the name of the game come March Madness time.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, defense and 3-point shooting, that's going to be the key. And unfortunately, we've seen some of the losses this year for Illinois. Like I said, this could go two ways for Illinois. They could end up going to maybe the Sweet 16 in the Elite Eight, or they could end up losing the second round. There's really no in between. So, they look good against Wisconsin. Wisconsin I think Wisconsin's still in the tournament. If they don't get it together, they may find themselves in the first four. I don't know they'll go that far down, but yeah, I mean, just going back to that moment with Howard Morris, seeing Greg Gard cry. That was a really cool, because people think that he's kind of like this hard, hard set guy, but stoic guy. But I know that he was a top assistant for many years there. So it was really great to see. But yeah, going back to this, I mean, look, Illinois, if we can see this Illinois team, they could probably perhaps maybe very likely go to Phoenix in the Final Four. Like I said, but they can also lose early on in the tournament. So there's really no in between with this team. So yeah, I mean, they've been looking really good lately, but it'll be interesting to see what they can keep it up in the Big Ten
also to Illinois clinch a double bye in next week's Big Ten tournament, which is going to take place this year in Minneapolis. So be on the lookout for that. Now their state counterparts in the Big Ten, the Northwestern Wildcats, they drop a big game at home to the Iowa Hawkeyes, who are on the bubble, in my opinion. Iowa gets a big 87-80 win on the road. Lakina, everything even down on the statistical side, except for offensive rebounding. And Northwestern just couldn't get that one big one big stop and that one big basket late. It was a tight game throughout, but Iowa just made a couple more big shots down the stretch.
And I just want to give a shout out to Billy McKinney, who is the mayor of Zion, his home town, and also too is who's a long time the color analyst for the games on the Northwest games on WGN, and it was a really great moment seeing his number retired. The Raptors was one time executive with the Bulls at one point.
That's right. Yep, in the late 80s into the 90s. Yep.
Yeah, the first African American to hold a position. So good for him, and definitely deserving. The first jersey to ever be retired, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, for any of the sports in Northwestern, which is kind of crazy. But back to the game for a second. Yeah, I mean, I watched a little bit of this game, and also too the 3-point line was really a struggle for Northwestern. I think that was a big difference in this game. Iowa really needs this win to kind of get themselves on the bubble. So they got the win that they needed. I mean, I think Northwestern's fine, but again, these are kind of losses that can kind of give the committee the excuse to kind of go down your seeding. So if they can win a couple of games in the Big Ten tournament, talking about Northwestern, they perhaps may get to that 6, 7 seed line. If not, they can probably be in the 8, 9, 10 line, maybe an 11 line, to kind of you don't want to be in that tier. So Northwestern.
I think that they finished Portland. They'll probably be between 10 and 12 team. But like I said, they finished strong here and still qualify for one of those forced by spots in the Big Ten tournament. I think they'll be okay. They'll probably between 8 and 9, probably 7 and 9, but probably 8 and 9 realistically.
Be interested to see if they can kind of keep it up. Blue Bowie struggled on Saturday, so yeah, they really need him to kind of get it going here. Now going to the games from this weekend, we'll start with Saturday. It's Houston, number one Houston edged out Oklahoma with a big shot. Just a really great game from start to finish there. It was just a really solid, really great game. And I think Houston is trying to get that number one overall seed. So we'll just see what happens with that. Purdue clinches at least a share of the Big Ten title with having no trouble with Michigan State. It was a little bit close for a little bit, but they pulled away late there. Tennessee pulled away from Alabama. It was kind of back and forth for a little bit, but Tennessee made the big shots. They were able to kind of pull it off there. Creighton beat Marquette. Arizona, now they're in the driver's seat in the Pac-12. Baylor, Kansas. Now I know Kansas folks are a little bit like they're getting a little antsy down there in Lawrence. They haven't been playing very well lately, and I know that McCullers has not played a lot lately. So I think McCullers kind of been struggling. He had 28 points, but 20 points I should say. But yeah, it's really the lack of depth, and I think unfortunately for Kansas, they need to get it together quick because if not, they could be another early exit for them.
I watched the last few minutes of that game. It was airing at the same time as the Illinois-Wisconsin game on the Big Ten Network. A couple of things I observed there with Kansas. I know they were down big and they came back late, but they ran out of time. In my opinion, they didn't use Hunter Dickinson enough. I know he had a late three to draw him closer, but time was running out. But Hunter Dickinson, in my opinion, wasn't used well enough. And like you said, to their lack of depth. But I noticed that Baylor was running up and down the floor with them, and Kansas was having some careless turnovers. I don't know if you caught it, but Bill himself said, "What the heck is going on here?"
He did.
And he was at a loss for words. So, and here's the thing that popped in my head after that game. If you would have told me that Kansas would be ranked number 8 as of right now in the country, and they would have had a 7-9 record in the Big 12, but they ranked in the top 10 in the country, I would have said you were smoking something. Look what's happening now. We talk about the parity in college basketball. This is what we're looking at right now.
Just look at how much that the Big 12 has. I mean, especially with Houston and BYU and UCF. I mean, there's just so many great talent, and it's kind of
Oklahoma too. Porter Moser.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a logjam there now, especially on the hoop side. So especially once Oklahoma and Texas leave for the SEC next year, it's going to be even. There's going to be a dogfight there. So no West Virginia in that conference. Speaking of Iowa State, they're kind of trying to stick right there with Houston. No trouble with UCF. North Carolina beats NC State. Kyle Popowski, I think is doing his ankles just fine. He let led do with 21 as they beat UVA easily. Auburn, no trouble with Mississippi State. Kentucky edged out Arkansas. Gonzaga beat St. Mary's. I watched a little bit.
That's a high-scoring game on Saturday. I did watch maybe like the last 2 minutes of that. I'm talking about the Arkansas-Kentucky game.
Yeah. I
know Arkansas's having a bad year, but they were leading by double digits midway through that second half. I said, am I believing what I'm seeing right now? But Calabrese gathered other troops, said enough is enough. We're not going to lose like this, especially at home. And they came back and won.
Yeah, really good win for Kentucky. A nice little conference boost going into the last week of the season. Gonzaga beat St. Mary's. I mean, they hit their threes. I think they still need to win the West Coast Conference tournament. I know, being St. Mary's, but they don't have the wins. Unfortunately, this is only their second quad 1 win, and that's what people want to go by. They're going to have to beat probably St. Mary's, depending if they lose early on in the West Coast Conference tournament, because they don't have the resume, so they're going to have to get that automatic bid. And St. Mary's will probably we'll get in regardless, but
is San Francisco in that conference too?
Yes.
So let's be honest. I don't know if the West Coast Conference is going to get 3 teams, and I don't.
Oh no.
I think that's fair to say. So I think they may get 2. They may get 2. Like you said, I think St. Mary's is automatic where they win their conference tournament now. But Gonzaga, I know they beat Calipari and them a couple of weeks ago, but it looks like it's not going to hold much weight right now.
No, it doesn't.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
San Francisco, I think is they're gonna have to win their conference tournament. They don't have they got a solid record. They're right behind Gonzaga and St. Mary's, but they just don't have the wins, unfortunately. So they're gonna have to win their conference tournament. So they may only get one of the West Coast Conference this year. So we'll see what happens. South Carolina, no trouble with Florida. That was a good back and forth game. To watch a little bit of this game. That was a fun game to watch. Washington State, no trouble with UCLA. USF, they had no trouble with Charlotte. And I want to go back to, let's see, anything else? Oh, I want to go back to the Friday night's game. Loyola got a big win.
Yay!
I think they're still gonna have to win the A10 tournament. in order to get into the dance. I mean, they got Richmond's in front of both of them right now. So, a really great win for Drew Valentine and his guys, but they're probably gonna have to win the A10 tournament in order to get to the dance.
Yeah. Do you think Dayton's an automatic team in the tournament right now before the conference tournament? Because I know they've been ranked in the teens in the last few weeks.
They're I think they're like right in the edge of the bubble, I think, especially with this loss to Loyola. I think
Okay.
if you're you definitely want to try to, if they can get to the final of the date of the A10 tournament, perhaps maybe if you win it, that'll cancel all the doubts and like the nervousness going to selection Sunday in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I think they're kind of right there on the bubble. I know some of the bracketologists some have them in, some have them out, or just right at the edge of being out. So yeah, you better get together if you're Dayton. So I got to figure it out.
But I'm with you. That was a big win for Loyola. That's going to help that confidence.
Absolutely. UConn, no trouble with Seton Hall. I saw a little bit of this game on yesterday, and hard to believe this is their first outright Big East title since 1999. Now, this might actually help because they actually won that year. They won a tournament that year. So, and this team actually may be even better than last year's team, oddly enough, if you can believe that.
Yeah, and I remember I said to you a month ago, Lakina, could UConn win it again? And you said, yeah. I think I'm starting to believe that a little bit. Is it a guarantee? No, but like you said, this team is scarier than the team that won last year. That is really going to be scary come tournament time. But we'll see what happens as their conference tournament will start next week.
Yeah, it should be a fun one up at MSG. Now, shout out to everybody, Spiro Adidas, who had this game. This game actually went to after the laugher that was Warriors and Celtics. Michigan and Ohio State. No trouble with Michigan. 84-61. Bruce Thornton, I should say, had 17 points. Travis Devers got his guys playing well, and dare I say, they're on the bubble. If you had told me a month ago, after they let go of Chris Holman, that this team would be like right there in the bubble discussion, I would have thought you were nuts. So, but I think they got Rutgers coming up later this week. If they can win a couple of games, for me, I think they got to at least get into the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament. They got to beat Rutgers, get to the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament at the very least in order to get a shot.
Yeah, I still think that the Big Ten will get 6 teams in, but like you say, if Ohio State can take care of that business, it's going to make those other bubble teams in the Big Ten route a little bit. Maybe Nebraska, maybe Michigan State, if they don't make a strong run between now and the end of next weekend when the regular season ends. So, like you said, Ohio State is playing very well ever since that coaching change. And on the flip side for Michigan, I don't want to say this out loud, but since we are a talk show, I must say it. I think we may be looking at the last days of Juwan Howard as the head coach of Michigan. I hate saying it, but I might be correct on this one. I do not want to take credit for it.
Yeah, of course, we all remember what happened. They reiterated on the telecast yesterday that, of course, Juwan Howard had to have heart surgery. Kind of kept the secret a little bit from his guys. He missed about first few weeks of the season. So, yeah, that might have played a little bit of a part there. So, yeah, I know that A.D. Wardell gave him the vote of confidence. So we'll see if maybe they can go into a little bit of a run to make things interesting. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But, yeah, we might be seeing last couple of weeks of the Juwan Howard era over at Michigan. Memphis, this will make you happy, Sid. They're right there to think of it in the bubble. They got their revenge against UAB 106-87. David Jones led the way for the Tigers with 32 points. And Nebraska beat Rutgers. So, yeah, they got a perfect record at home. So, yeah. So, yeah, I would say no trouble on the, like I said, it's really the road that's been a big issue for them. And they do go at Michigan. So, on Saturday, so to finish up the season. So, they should be able to get their first road win of the season, which should help them. And I think if they win a couple of games in the Big Ten tournament, I think they should be okay.
On the first game you talked about with Memphis being the UAB yesterday, I did see the end of that game. The game was pretty much over. Like you said, David Jones is the man for the Tigers. I think they have FAU, Florida Atlantic, one more time before their conference tournament next week. Yep. So I think Memphis is in the tournament, but if you could beat FAU, that's really going to boost your confidence going to that tournament next week if you're Penny Hardaway and crew.
Yeah, absolutely. Though, and if you're look, you got to fresh up that resume, so that's going to be interesting to see if they can do
Mm-hmm.
that. Going to this week's games, you got Duke the
Real
last
quickly,
week.
Keena, locally in college basketball from yesterday,
Oh,
Bradley drops a big one to
yeah,
Drake,
yeah.
74-66. So I believe Bradley's in third place in the
Mm-hmm.
Missouri Valley. I know the tournament starts later this week down in St. Louis. And
Yep.
Southern Illinois had a bad loss
Yeah, that was a terrible
yesterday.
loss. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was a
to
terrible
Northern
loss.
Iowa, 82-70.
UNI, yeah, that was not a good loss. That's not. They did not need that. Now they do still get the bye the way it's set up, but yeah, it's going to be tough for them. They really need to look. Both these teams need to kind of get into the dance. So we'll see what happens there. Now going to this week's games, we got Duke and NC State at 6 o'clock on ESPN. The last big Monday of the season for ESPN, and of course night capper on ESPN. You got at 8 o'clock. You got Baylor hosting Texas. That should be a fun one. Weber State and Montana State. Now, I want to give a shout out to Weber State, the Fighting Damian Lillards, as I as I call them there. If I can get the stack up here for a second. Look, I thought I had. Okay, shoot, I thought I had. Okay, hold on. Oh, Dylan Jones, who is the one of the star players from Weber State. He had 30 points, 25 rebounds, and 10 assists in their game on Saturday. And of course, Weber State did win that game. He joins the likes of guys like Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Giannis, and LeBron as the guys in the last 25 years to do that in both either NBA or D1 level. So congrats to him. You're going to see a little bit in the last 5 seasons. So you're going to get a little bit about him. You guys check that out. And I believe they're leading the Big Sky Conference, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, they're second to Big Sky in Montana State. So yeah, they're playing each other tonight. So the Big Sky Conference getting a little bit of love. They could be facing each other in a couple weeks.
All right. And your schedule for Tuesday in college basketball looks like this. The Sun Belt Conference tournament and the Patriot League tournament will start Tuesday, tomorrow. And the rest of the schedule, just the key games now looks like this. Number 3, Purdue will travel to Champaign to take on the 12th ranked Illinois Fighting Illini. That's at 6 o'clock Chicago time. That's on Peacock now. So that's going to be a Peacock. Unfortunately, not Big Ten Network or ESPN. On the ACC network at the same time, Notre Dame will travel to Chapel Hill to face the North Carolina Tar Heels. They're ranked 7th in the country. At the same time on ESPN, number 16, Alabama will travel to Florida to take on the Gators. Florida has been struggling a little bit here lately. They're falling out of the top 25, but both these teams have 20-9 records on the year.
Yeah, it still should be. I would say still should be an interesting one as it is between these two teams. How their football acumens are. So yeah, Syracuse and Clemson. That's at 6 o'clock on ESPN2. Syracuse. Look, I'm not saying that they're gonna make the turn, but if you're Clemson, I think you want to try to to kind of get yourself in the right side of that bubble. I think the bubble's really soft this year. A lot of teams can kind of go through it, depending on what's gonna happen these next couple of weeks. Oklahoma and Cincinnati, that's going to be on ESPN Plus. Kansas and Kansas State. Remember, K-State got Kansas earlier this season, so Kansas will hopefully get their revenge at 8 o'clock on ESPN. Auburn and Mizzou, the Fighting Mike Burmans. I know the Mizzou has not been very good this year, but they face each other on SEC Network. Dayton hoped to bounce back from that loss to Loyola. They face St. Louis at 8 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. St. John's and DePaul on FS1 on 8 o'clock.
But team may be making a quiet run to the NCAA tournament. I'm just saying.
They're inching up there. So yeah. As long as they don't lose to DePaul, they better not. And a couple of games in the Big East tournament, they should be okay. San Diego State and UNLV, that's at CBS Sports Network at 10. Also, Nevada and Boise State also at 10 o'clock on FS1.
All right, your key games from Wednesday looks like this. Villanova will play Seton Hall. That's at 5:30 on FS1. Number 1, Houston will travel to UCF. That's at 6 o'clock on the ESPN Plus and the Big 12 Network. And then at 6 o'clock on ESPN2, this is for Wednesday now. Number 4, Tennessee will travel to number 17, South Carolina to face the Gamecocks.
That should be a lot of fun. And Northwestern Michigan State at 6 o'clock on the Big 10 Network.
Big game for both teams here. Bigger for Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan State really needs this to get into the bubble. So they're kind of right there in the edge. Loyola hoping to not have a letdown as they face Davidson at 6 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Let's see here. Oh, SMU hosts East Carolina. UConn, they already got the biggies wrapped up, but I think they want that number one overall seed. So they face Marquette at 7:30 on FS1. BYU and Iowa State on ESPN2. Vandy and Kentucky at 8 o'clock on SEC Network. Utah State and San Jose State on CBS Sports Network at 8:30, and New Mexico hosts Fresno State on FS1 at 9:30.
And at 8 o'clock on Big Ten Network, following Northwestern and Michigan State, we'll have Indiana and Minnesota, both teams on the bubble there as Big Ten play winds down for the regular season. Now going to Thursday, we'll have the Patriot League and the ASUN conference tournaments going on. You also have the Missouri Valley Conference tournament starting in St. Louis on Thursday. Missouri State will face Murray State, and then on the Sun Belt Conference tournament will continue there. Your primetime games look like this. Evansville will take on Illinois State. That's at 6 o'clock on ESPN Plus. I think locally here on NBC Sports Chicago. That's in Missouri Valley. Of course, your primetime schedule for Thursday looks like this. UAB will play Temple at 6 o'clock on ESPN2. This is the schedule for Thursday now. Rutgers will take on Wisconsin at 6 o'clock on FS1. Big game for Wisconsin, especially after their loss last Saturday at home to Illinois. And we will have Western Illinois hosting somebody in the Ohio Valley Conference. That's at 6:30 p.m. on ESPN Plus. And looking at the schedule, Washington versus Washington State. That's at 8 o'clock on FS1.
UIC in Southern Illinois. Yeah, and that's going to be the night capper for the Missouri Valley Conference tournament. The 4 and 5 seed face each other on ESPN Plus at 8:30. And I think that game is going to be on NBC Sports Chicago Plus, I believe, because I think there's a Bulls game going on that night as well. Yeah. So I think that Warriors game. I think so.
It's a Warriors game late.
Yeah, so that'll probably be on NBC Sports Chicago Plus. So check your local listings for that on your whatever provider you have.
Yeah, and Arizona State versus USC at 10 o'clock on FS1, and then Utah versus Oregon State at 10 p.m. on ESPNU.
And that is your schedule for this week in men's college hoops. As I can see, sports on Sports on Chicago. Lakeem McGee, Sneak Brown with you. Now there was a record that was broken on the women's side.
Factor this last month for Ohio State. Clark, quick release. And 3 points are raining down here for Iowa early on. Caitlin Clark going to her left. This handoff, you know what she's going to do. It doesn't matter how deep she is. Taylor a little slow to step up. Clark drains. Clark, quick release jumper. Left side going to her left. A nice screen by Molly Davis to free her up, and Green trying to get out there too late on the contest. That's Bottoms. For the record, she ties it with that one. This for college basketball history. She does it with a foul shot. Caitlin Clark becomes the all-time leading scorer in major college basketball history.
And that, of course, was from the Big Fox Network. I'm glad they actually had that game on the Big Fox Network. That is with former Northwestern standout Sarah Cusack, who I've interviewed a few years ago. She's terrific. And of course, I'm glad they got Gus Johnson to do that game, which is really yeah, exactly. Well, for the 2 free throws, I mean, you saw her parents and her boyfriend are out there in the crowd. Iowa did beat Ohio State by 10 points. It's just that Ohio State actually decided to kind of go all in because they already wrapped up the Big Ten title on the women's side. So that was actually really nice. They kind of called out the dogs a little bit. So once they kind of they didn't want to overserve their 200, but a really great record there for Caitlin Clark. Basically, a who's who of people were there. Maya Moore, who was her idol, of course, won multiple championships on both the WNBA and NBA and WNBA, and of course at UConn. Lynette Willard, who she actually broke the record prior to that. Glad she got some love there. The Iowa folks were very nice, so she gave her a nice little welcome there. So Yeah, Travis Scott was out there, and basically it was like a who's who of people at the Carver Hawkeye Arena yesterday. Wednesday history.
Yeah, and I watched the majority of the first half live via my my TV in my living room, and I don't know what the numbers are. Hopefully, we'll get to it before the show is out. But I know it went up against the NBA with Philadelphia and Dallas. I know Joel Embiid didn't play, so yours truly decided to watch that Ohio State Iowa game live, and I'm glad that record got over with the way that it did to end that first half. But Lakina, did you watch any of the commercials going into halftime? Because I know that's something that probably most people didn't talk about. Did you notice that Nike had a commercial with Caitlin Clark walking out?
Yeah, I saw that.
You know what song
I
was
saw
playing?
the YouTube. Yeah, I saw it on their social media account, their Twitter X account.
Yeah, you know what song they were playing?
No.
Outstanding by Charlie Wilson and his late brother Ronnie Wilson and the Gap Band. I hope Nike come a big check for using that song.
I hope he did. I hope they gave him a nice little check there. You better give Charlie his check. Don't
Exactly.
He'll let you know in a second. Don't you do that. Don't you do that.
Right. Even though he's a positive guy and man of faith, he's not stupid, folks. He's not stupid.
No. He's not. No. He's not. No. He will not do that. But yeah, I mean, I know the women. They're starting their Big Ten tournament later this week on the women's side. So I mean, look, it's an amazing record, that a record that stood for like almost over 50 years. That record that with Pete Maravich, but yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that she at least maybe we'll get another rematch of her and against Angel Reese for the Big Ten, but for the national championship. Shout out to her. Of course, Shaq actually walked her out with her parents. Talking about Angel Reese for her senior day yesterday. That was pretty cool to see. South Carolina, I think they're undefeated right now. Stanford's up there too. You got Juju Watkins over USC. So yeah, the women's team games on the up and up, and I'm hoping that I mean, we'll get to that once we get to it later on down the line. We'll talk about the tournament, but yeah, the women's tournament is gonna be very interesting. We said the men's tournament the women's gonna be well.
I want to ask you about these two teams. I think Tennessee played South Carolina yesterday. I want to ask you about Tennessee, and no one's talking about this team because they're not as dominant as they once were. UConn. Does Gino have another run in him?
Like I said, it's gonna look. Paige Beckers, I think, is looking very good after coming back from the ACL surgery last season. I don't know. It's gonna really depend on the matchup. Same thing with Tennessee. Kelly Harper is finally starting to put her stamp in that program. I think to me, it's great to see the parity and the widespreadness of some of the other teams. But to me, college basketball is really good when UConn and Tennessee are up there. So hopefully we'll have a big run this year.
Breaking news real quick from The Athletic. This affects the number one team in the country, the Houston Cougars. JoJo Togo will be lost for the year.
I saw that he injured I think he's injured his knee on Saturday, and that's a big. I know they got Kelly Sellers got a nice depth, but that's a big loss for Houston. So could affect them in their run to the national championship. So we'll see.
Yeah. NFL free agency is almost here. We have a couple of signings to report. One retirement. Baseball is in full effect. We'll give you the top pitchers to watch for 2024. And I'm handing over the reins, at least for this week anyway, to Miss Lakina McGee for this week's edition of Old School TV Monday, saluting the City of Angels. You'll have to stay tuned to what show she's talking about. That and a whole lot more as you're listening and rocking and rolling along on the Monday edition of Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the Monday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. This is our last break for today. So if you have any last minute questions or comments, you'll be able to get them in right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Okay, Sid, some big signings so far in the NFL, and right before our free. Well, actually, you know what? Let's start with this one because there was a big retirement announcement that came out about an hour ago, right before we went into air. Jason Kelsey, who the left tackle, who 6-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion. Of course, he has a sports podcast he hosts with his younger brother, three times Super Bowl champ, Travis Kelsey, and definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's announced his retirement from the NFL.
Yes, so you saw the last game that the Philadelphia Eagles played in their playoff loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They made some news too. We'll talk about in a second. But Jason Kelsey cried as the clock was ticking down, and he was a very, very stellar player in that offensive line for Philadelphia. He was part of that 2017 championship team that really dominated throughout that regular season, really took off in the playoffs after losing Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. We all know what kind of story that was. But like I said, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He was a staple on that Eagles offensive line. And Philadelphia is going to have some work to do. You're worried about A.J. Brown, and you worry about finding that stud running back. But they're going to have to work that offensive line, too, to protect Jalen Hurts. You saw what kind of year he had. He was, despite even before the thumb injury, Jalen Hurts had some problems due to reshuffling of the offensive line.
And you got Kellen Moore, who's new OC, and of course Vic Fangio, who's new DC. So you're gonna have you got a couple of veteran coordinators, but you got to have the players in order to make these runs happen. So it'll be interesting to see what they do because that's Kelsey was a big proponent and a big star on that old line for the Eagles. So now the Eagles are gonna have to address it. There's gonna be guys out there. Do they do it through the draft? We'll see. But congrats, Jason Kelsey, had a great career, and I'm sure it's gonna be a lot of TV. I'm sure CBS, Fox, perhaps maybe the NFL. That we're probably definitely gonna be vying for his services.
Yeah, wasn't Jason Kelsey on? I think it was during that last Bears game against Carolina on Amazon. I think they brought him up to do some analysis. And so I wouldn't be surprised they ended up on there doing a segment or two, or as perhaps doing something else.
Yeah, we'll see. We know he's good at it. We know he hosts a very successful podcast, so we know he's good at it. We know he's got a great personality. So and he'll turn it off when he has to. I mean, I know he's a little bit out there, but he turns it off when he needs to. Professional. Yeah. So I have no problem. He's gonna be good at the TV thing. Also, too, of course, this is one of the big signs that came out this morning. Mike Evans is staying with the Bucks. They avoid free agency. He's a 2-year deal with $52 million, with $30 million in guarantee, and even some more incentives.
Mike Evans had a great year with quarterback Baker Mayfield. Now, does this mean that Baker Mayfield comes back to Tampa Bay? I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. But if you're a Baker, you have your big target signed up for the next couple of years. Hopefully, if you're the Buccaneers front office, you can work out the numbers. You can bring Baker Mayfield back, because looking at it on paper, the Buccaneers are the favorite next year to win the NFC South. Will the New Orleans Saints stick with Derek Carr? We know Carolina's rebuilding. Atlanta, who's going to be their quarterback? Will it be Kirk Cousins? Will it be Justin Fields via trade? Who knows? But as of right now, Tampa Bay's the favorite to win that division next year, and they'll be bigger favorites if they resign Baker Mayfield now since Mike Evans is back.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one there. There was another big signing sit over the weekend. Tell us about it.
Should I tell you, or I should let you tell it? I'll let you go ahead. Ladies first. Ladies first. No, I can't tell it.
No, after you. Just do it.
No. After you. After you.
No, after you.
No.
No, after you. Come on.
No.
Stop. Come on.
No. After you, young lady. After you.
Oh, no. Please. No, come on. It's 2024. Look, enough of this. Just do it.
Let's see if my computer can land off the other big free agent signing here. Oh, this thing's so damn slow. 5, 4, 3. All right, Lakina, go ahead.
Oh, well, but mine's acting up as well. So, okay. Well, you know what? While we're trying to find another big signing, let's slow it down a little bit. The award-winning reporter for ESPN, Chris Mortenson, passed away yesterday. He had been battling cancer the last 5 years. Actually took a step back from his job at ESPN to concentrate on his battle. And it was tough. The news broke right about 2:30, 3 o'clock our time here in Chicago, and to see, and because I was watching a little bit of the combine, I was turning back and forth because, like I said, the Warriors Celtics game was just stunk, and I was turning back and forth from the Ohio State Michigan game, the basketball game on CBS, and to see the raw emotion. You saw Rich Eisen, of course, worked at ESPN for many years. He was one of the first people he met. Daniel Jeremiah, who's a great draft analyst for the NFL Network. He knew him when he was in college at UConn, and he was just a great mentor for him. He saw some of the other various people who have mentored him, who he mentored, I'm talking about more, mentored him and met him, and was just professional. So, the tributes pouring in. If you guys get a chance, look through ESPN's social media. They got a really great tribute to, a nice 3.5-minute tribute to Mort. Just very sweet. And we've lost a couple of good ones the last couple of years with the NFL reporting. I mean, John Clayton last year, and now Mort. I mean, I know those two are having a nice little go at it. I know they're having a little bit of talk. You really didn't have it. I'm sure those two are having a nice little talk. Yeah.
That was the first person I thought about after I read and heard the news about Chris Mortenson's passing yesterday. And those two were the original NFL insiders when ESPN dove into the NFL coverage in 1987 when they got the Sunday Night Football package. Of course, during the late 80s and early 90s, until the mid-90s, they split their package with TNT, and then they got it back full time in 1998 before Sunday Night Football picked up with NBC. Now with ESPN with Monday Night Football. But back to Chris Mortenson, he was one of the original insiders, along with the late John Clayton. They had a little bit of personality to them, as ESPN grew their brand, especially in the 90s, and they were hard-hitting reporters. They had information right up to the second, and the way that he delivered it, it was right on time. And remember, definitely back in the early '90s, he was before Ed Warder covered the Cowboys nationally for ESPN. Chris Mortenson was there, not all the time, but during the playoff runs, ESPN had him there, and he had knowledge about the Cowboys and the 49ers as well. So he was definitely one of the dean of NFL insiders, along with Mr. John Clayton. And for those of you that didn't get a chance to read it yet, Peter King, who's walking away from writing about football, and he did one last column paying tribute to his colleague Chris Mortenson. I advise people to go and read that on the Monday Morning QB. It was very, very well done.
Yeah, I gotta read that. Nice way. But yeah, we want to give our thoughts and prayers to his family as we dedicate this show to one of the all-time greats to ever do it, Chris Mortenson, here on Second City Sports.
Mm-hmm. All right, Lakina, back to our free agency signing. I don't know if you caught this, but an defensive lineman for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yes.
His birthday was yesterday, and guess what happened? He got cut.
Yeah, that was I saw that, and it was just talk about a happy birthday I mean, it's just he was a veteran player for the Jags. He was one of the bright spots from that team. Of course, we all saw what happened.
Tukasi is his last name.
Tupasi, yeah, and that was just that was just how terrible. Like, happy 28th birthday. You just got
and then
cut.
You get cut. Man, that's
brutal.
rough.
That's brutal, and he's definitely. But like I said, he's one of those veteran guys that could definitely beef up an O-line. So maybe the Bears will probably give him a shot, perhaps, or I'm sure the Niners could use another O-lineman, and I think he's definitely, like I said, he's definitely probably one of the top O-linemen in the league. So I think it might be a blessing in disguise for him. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Lakina, we know that free agency starts next Tuesday. I know tomorrow is the deadline for the franchise tag for all 32 teams around the NFL. But I want to go over you not all the names, Lakina, but some of the key names which will potentially be available in free agency starting next week. Josh Allen, no, not the QB from Buffalo, but the edge rusher from Jacksonville. I think it's safe to say he's going to stay with Jacksonville.
Oh yeah. I definitely think he's going to stay with Jacksonville. I think they're not letting him go.
Yeah. Chris Jones, the same thing with Kansas City. He's at age 30. Kirk Cousins, I know Denver's been mentioned. Atlanta, of course, Minnesota's still in the mix. I think Kirk Cousins will have a new address.
I think he's going to stay with Minnesota. I don't know. I feel like I think he's going to stay with Minnesota, probably at a more of a reduced price, but I think they're gonna keep him. I think they're gonna keep him there.
Okay, watch out for Atlanta here. If Atlanta doesn't trade for Justin Fields within the next week or two, I think they'll get Kirk Cousins. We'll see what happens there. I think Atlanta's going to be a key player. What happens with Kirk Cousins? So watch out for the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, I think Jalen Johnson is going to resign with the Bears. It's all but done. Antoine Winfield, the safety of Tampa Bay. Do you see him leaving the Bucs, or is he going somewhere else?
Oh gosh, that $30 million will definitely help, get a little bit of his money if that's what he wants. And especially if they're going to be one of the favorites next year, I think he definitely would probably, he has a Super Bowl ring under his belt, so he might leave. We'll see.
Here's a couple of defensive linemen that the Bears should take a look at as far as free agency is concerned. Christian Wilkins out of Miami, he's at age 28. Justin Madubuike, the defensive lineman from Baltimore, he's at age 26.
Yeah, Wilkins is an interesting name because we know he's had some injuries the last few years, but he's really one of the top defensive guys. So I think Chicago should definitely get a look at him, but it's going to be interesting to see if maybe in the division, Buffalo, perhaps, maybe San Francisco, maybe Baltimore could use an extra front beef up in the front seven. Perhaps. So he'll have his choices.
Now, okay, these next two names are
No. As far as the other names are concerned, I think the Bears might get him probably. They might get him for a little bit cheaper.
Okay, these next two are edge rushers. Danielle Hunter, age 29 from Minnesota. Of course, Chase Young from San Francisco. He's at age 25. Do you trust that Chase Young will give you something if he signs signs with the Bears. I know he's 4 years younger than Hunter, but I don't know about Chase Young. I know he's been injured throughout his whole career. I know Washington traded Ray. I want to say Chase Young will fit the Bears system, but I don't know what I'm going to get from him.
Yeah, and the health is going to be an issue too. I think. I think if he's not. I'm sure he knows he's not going to get that big money because of the ACL surgery that he had. So, although he has been pretty solid, when he's healthy. So, I don't know. I think if you're the Bears, would you try to go for him instead of Danielle Hunter because he has a lot more wear and tear. He's 29. So I know Bears fans really want Hunter there, but especially since he's a former Viking, but. It'll be interesting to see what he does where both those names go.
Okay. A couple of wide receivers to look at here. Calvin Ridley, 29 from Jacksonville. He had a nice year after serving that suspension from gambling from a couple of years ago. I think it's safe to say he'll stay with Jacksonville, but then again, you never know. These next two, yeah, I think these next two names are interesting, especially if you're the Bears. Gabriel Davis from Buffalo, age 25, and Michael Pittman from Brian Post on those two guys.
Yeah, I like Pittman a lot, so the Bears should really take a look at him. But like I said, he'll have his choice of teams as well. I think a lot of the playoff teams could use his services. So depending on like I said, the $30 million will definitely amp up the cap situation. So maybe like I said, maybe a San Fran, maybe even Denver, perhaps. Maybe Dallas, dare I say? So it'll be interesting. I think both those names are definitely could be sleeper names. No, it's fine.
All right, a couple more names. Yeah, a couple more names for the Bears. I think should look at, in my opinion. Xavier Howard of Miami, 31, and Shaquille Barrett, the edge rusher from Tampa, age 31.
Yeah, I think Barrett might be but I think he probably wants to stay close to home in Florida. So maybe Miami. Maybe. I mean, Jacksonville, I guess. So, yeah, Xavier Howard is interesting because, like I said, he's 31, but he actually has been able to avoid any serious injuries. So, he could definitely be a team that a lot of teams could look for. And look, you never have too many edge rushers. So, Bears, yes. Bills?
Here's the thing about Xavier Howard. I would love to see him on the Bears, but I don't think the Bears are going to go there in direction because they have, as we talked about, they have better, much more pressing needs, i.e. An extra pass rush. And, of course, they got to finish fixing the offensive line. But the Miami Dolphins are clearing cap space, as you notice. I've read of a few of their names, their free agents. They clean their space for potential re-signing Tua Tagovailoa, who just celebrated his 26th birthday.
Yeah, so they got that's probably gonna be the pressing need for them. Perhaps maybe re-signing Tua. So that's how you see why. Don't be surprised. Look, we're already seeing Howard been released, Wilkins is gonna get released. So yeah, that might be the reason why they're clearing up the room to get to give Tua his money.
Yeah. All right. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sydney Brown along with Miss Lakina McGee. Before we get to Old School TV Monday, Lakina, I won't go through the whole list, but I was reading an article over the weekend from justbaseball.com, and this is by Harrison Bruns. That's Bruns. He has his list of the top 20 best starting pitchers for the upcoming 2024 MLB season. At number 20, he has Kodai. Here's you go. He has Kodai Senga for the New York Mets. Next is Tyler Glass now for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Of course, he was with Tampa Bay last year. And next on that list, at number 17, he has Justin Steele of the Chicago Cubs, who finished third in his NL Cy Young voting last year. He had a bad September, but he had a record of 16-5 with a 3.06 ERA.
Hopefully, he can build on that. I know he was still smarting from that bad September. That's why he didn't make it to the final three, the NL Cy Young race. But I think he's definitely the sky's the limit for him. I know he said he's been working on his change up. So I really think he's going to make I think he's definitely going to take that step up, I think, this year.
Yeah, I think so, too. I won't go through all the names, but just some of the key names here. We talked about this pitcher over the last couple of years. Framber Valdez, the big left-hander for the Houston Astros. He had a no-hitter last year. He posted a 3.45 ERA last year. He started 31 games and pitched close to 200 innings.
Could be interesting to see what he does. You can build on that. We saw what happened last year. He kind of ran out of gas after that no hitter. So we'll see if he can, get it going again.
Number 12, Blake Snell, currently a free agent. Of course, he was with San Diego last year, won the NL Cy Young with a 14-9 record and a 2.25 ERA.
Good to see. I know the Yankees have been interested in him, but the numbers are not there. Hopefully, maybe he may have to do the same thing that Cody Bellinger did, and also Matt Chapman did. Remember, he signed that 3-year deal with opt-outs the first 2 with the Giants. So I think Snell's gonna have to maybe pony up and may have to do the same thing.
Yep, we'll see what happens there. Number 10, Max Fried of the Atlanta Braves. He only pitched in 14 games last year, 8-1 record, 2.25 ERA. No injuries have been a problem for him for the last couple of years, but he's been one of their for Atlanta. He's been one of their top pitchers. So hopefully he can have a bounce back year healthy for them.
Hopefully he'll definitely. Hopefully he doesn't have a little setback. I know injuries have been a problem for him last few years. But yeah, when he's on, he's on. So hopefully he can be even better. And play a full season, pitch a full season, I should say.
Yeah, number 9 is Luis Castillo of the Seattle Mariners. Number 8, the rookie pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He's really going to be – eyes are really going to be on him this year, especially signing him for $300 million. He's going to anchor the top of that rotation. Remember, Clayton Kershaw won't be back until after the All-Star break. Of course, you have Tyler Glasnow, as I mentioned early in this list. And both those guys will be expected to carry that starting rotation along with Miller for the Dodgers. Number 7, Zach Gallen of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Last year on their surprise run to the World Series, he posted a 17-9 mark with a 3.47 ERA. Pitched over 210 innings.
Yeah, let's see if that wasn't a fluke. He kind of came out of nowhere. So let's hope he can kind of keep it going and not suffer a sophomore slump.
Number 6, Logan Webb of the San Francisco Giants. They've been having trouble signing free agents until they got Matt Chapman. Number 5, Corbin Burns, formerly of the Milwaukee Brewers, now with the Baltimore Orioles. I like this move for Baltimore. As we talked about Lakina last year, they took a big step, winning over 100 games. Their starting pitchers were a little bit better than the year before, but they took a huge step by getting Corbin Burns. As of right now, if you're a White Sox fan, Baltimore's out of the Dylan Cease race, but for right now, Corbin Burns will lead that veteran will lead that starting rotation for the Birds.
That I'm really looking forward to seeing that starting pitching for the Orioles this year. I think. Look, we were saying last year, could they make it even a step further and perhaps even go further in the playoffs? Should they make it?
Yep. Number 4, Kevin Gausman of the Toronto Blue Jays, 3.16 ERA last year. Number 3. We'll have Spencer Strider of the Atlanta Braves. Like I said, he's the poor man's version of Dylan Cease in terms of looks in his numbers. Last year, he posted a 20-5 record with a 3.6 ERA in 32 games started and pitched. Number 2, Zach Wheeler of Philadelphia, who just re-signed an extension yesterday over the weekend. He had a 13-6 record for Philadelphia last year, 3.61 ERA. And at number 1, Garrett Cole, your defending AL Cy Young Award winner for the New York Yankees. He had a 15-4 record last year with a 2.63 ERA.
He was one of the few bright spots on the pitching side for the Yankees. So if he can keep it up and perhaps maybe make that starting rotation even better, I think the Yankees could probably, I don't know if they're going to challenge Baltimore for the AL East, but they can definitely be right there for one of those wild card spots.
Yes, and they need Aaron Judge healthy, and they need Mike. Almost said it. Giancarlo Stanton to have a big year. He needs to stay healthy. Formerly known as Mike Stanton, but they need Giancarlo Stanton to stay healthy, have a big year, and they need Aaron Judge to stay healthy too. Remember, the Yankees team was rolling until Judge got hurt, and then that changed everything. Of course, I know Carlos Rodon, the former White Sox pitcher, struggled with injuries last year, got some criticism, but we'll see if he comes back this year. All right, so those show some of your top pitchers to watch for in 2020. Starting pitchers to watch for in 2024, according to JustBaseball.com.
Yeah, I really like that list. We've been saying, I think Glossman, that Toronto team really, they took a step back last year. They really need him to kind of get it going. Especially, beefing up. I know they've made some, they thought they were getting Ohtani. It didn't happen. They thought they're going to get even Bellinger and even Chapman. That didn't happen. So, it's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of make that next step. We'll get to it once we get to our divisional previews.
All right. You're listening to Second City Sports or Sports Zone Chicago City King, hanging out here with you. Normally at this time, I would do Old School TV Monday, but my gracious host, Miss Lakina again, has a special tribute to the city of Angels for this week's edition of Old School TV Monday. Lakina, let's kick it.
All right. So today's Old School TV Monday goes to the Angels, but we are talking about It's a Living. That's right.
It's a living.
Oh, please don't start.
Let me stop.
Yeah. Okay. The first episode aired on October 30th, 1980, as a mid-season replacement. 13 episodes. Then it was then it did get a season 2, but it was renamed Making a Living, which in 1981 through 82. But after a couple years of struggling the ratings, they decided to shelve the show. But it was produced by Paul Thomas and Tony Thomas, I should say, and Paul Junker Witt, of course, and also 2 Warner Brothers Productions. Those were the guys that were responsible for shows like The Cosby Show and those as shows like that. Now, it actually got a nice little pick-me-up in syndication, which it came back down in 1985. And it lasted for another 80 more episodes, 120 episodes total. And the last episode aired in 1989, on April of 1989. And some of the other stars from the show, of course, like Gail Edwards, who, of course, would go on to play Danny Tanner's girlfriend on Full House, and Julia, who was a veteran TV actress and singer. And, of course, who came on, Krista Bernard, who came on the 3rd season once it got into syndication. And the comparable Miss Cheryl, now Emmy winner, Cheryl Lee Ralph, of course, came on at season 4 at St. James for the rest of the run. It's about a group of waitresses in Los Angeles, all had different lives. Had a very tough boss, Miss Nancy Beebe. And hilarity ensued, of course, with Paul Kreppel as Sonny, who I think I heard him in an interview say a few years ago that his character would have been canceled because he was a total, I don't want to say sleazeball. He kind of wasn't sleazeball. I'll
say the term for today's times: toxic masculinity.
Exactly. He definitely would have been. His character definitely would have been canceled. Even he said it himself.
You got nice. I'll leave it alone. But you know what I mean.
Right, exactly. We all, Oh, yeah, totally. But yeah, of course, Wendy Shaw, who will actually go on to now still the voice of Lois on the Family Guy. A lot of people didn't know that. She had a nice little voiceover career. So, it was a really great show. Of course, Barry Youngfellow, who was the only, her and Miriam Mercer, who played Nancy. They were the 2 only. Sadly, both of them passed away. I know Nancy, Miriam, I should say, died of, I think, like in the late 90s. I know Barry Youngfellow died last year. I think she had breast cancer, and it was one of those shows. I thought It's a Living was a great show. It kind of gave you like a behind the scenes life of a waitress in the big time city. Unfortunately, there was a lot of cast changes. They struggled in the first couple of seasons, but it actually really took off. Like some other shows, Miles Family, who we honored on Old School TV Monday. Also, too, Charles in Charge. We'll talk about that show at some point. But yeah, it was it's a really solid show. It was a great show. It was a great sitcom, and it may actually I actually want to be a waitress for a little bit. They said.
Well, like you mentioned, all those waitresses had their own personalities. They were trying to make it going through life. They had their challenges, but at the workplace and away from the workplace. As Jay Hood would say, we'll give you a little peek behind the curtain a little bit. As Lakina, we were talking about this after the show last Friday about what was going to be the show for Old School TV Monday for today. She brought up It's a Living, and you tell them what I said after you brought that up.
Oh, I forgot what you said. I forgot what you said.
I said Shirley Ralph quit playing with me. And my late mother used to watch that show. Those of you that grew up here in Chicago in the 80s, used to be on the old channels, Super 66 now is Univision now, But they had that show on every Saturday, late Saturday afternoon, early Saturday nights. And I remember watching some of those episodes because remember at that time, outside of the Cosbys, if you saw a black face on a quote unquote predominantly white show, it was big back then. So that's how I remember that show. But looking at some of the reruns now, like you said, some of the storylines they did back then, some of them wouldn't be used today.
Right,
and you mentioned
exactly.
Sunny Man, that character, he would be so watered down today. It would not be. It wouldn't be. It would not be funny at all. But Aunt Jillian, thank goodness she still looks fabulous in her 70s. She's still alive today. And I know they wrote her off the show gracefully. That she started her own family because she suffered from breast cancer. Of course, she's a survivor. She's doing well. But back then, when we heard breast cancer or any type of cancer, it was pretty much a death sentence. But thank goodness that she's doing well. She had a great career in Hollywood. She's retired now. But that show overall was very underrated. I know on the Logo cable network, they ran it for a while. They don't do it anymore. But, it was a very good show, a very underrated show. I'm not going to say it was ahead of its time, but it kind of was in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, I actually didn't watch until the repeats, the original airings, because of course, I remember from the last few years it was on syndication. Of course, on ABC, you had Susan Sullivan, who went on to do Falcon Crest, decided not to come back. That was probably a smart move on her part. They brought in Louise Lasser, who was a great veteran TV and stage actress. Still didn't take off. She's still doing her thing. In the theater. I just saw recently she's doing a play right now, so she's still kicking butt. Krista Bernard, of course, she came on the third season. She went on to do Wings, and we'll honor that show at some point. Of course, that's another good one. Love that show. She was terrific. It still looks great too. I mean, of course, she came from Happy Days, and such. It was just a really, really great show, like you said, Sid. I mean, Sunny, Sunny. Jesus, that no. But like I said, the way Nancy treated her waitresses, though, I mean, that wouldn't fly today either. Of course, she ended up marrying one of the cooks. So again, something that would not fly nowadays in 2024. So I mean, a lot of that stuff would not fly today. But I know a lot of the episodes are on YouTube. So if you guys haven't had a chance to don't know what it is or haven't watched it in a while, check it out. But it was a really great show, and it was a funny show. It had its moments. Richard Klein also played. I think he played Jan's husband. When we married, he played it for a little bit.
Seasons 3 through 6.
Yeah, so had a great role during that show. Yeah, so it was like I said, it was a great show. Of course, it kind of made you say, look, these women were not just parading around, looking good. They actually had lives. Dot wanted to be an actress. Ginger. Shirley Ross character wanted, to just make it have a good life. Chris Mortenson character Amy, coming from a small town in the big city, just the life there. So, it was definitely great backgrounds. And I'm glad Tony Thomas saw Shirley Ralph doing Dreamgirls and said, look, I got to get her for the show. He wanted to kind of bring her on after Angela left. So, let's check out Shirley's episode on Unsung on YouTube. She shared that story of how she got its living.
Yeah, and she was treated like Kim Fields on Facts of Life. She was actually treated as an Negro.
Yeah,
which was very, even though it's entertainment, it was actually very good to see.
Yeah, and she did. Like I said, she shares it on her Unsung episode. So make sure to check that out as well. Yeah, it was like I said, I'm glad they brought her on. I think that kind of took it off. I think once and I know they had to make a big splash once Angelina left to spend time with her family. Take care of herself. And it was just a really great show. And I loved. I know you loved it too, Sid. And every Saturday it was on at 6:30 on Channel 50. It was right there for those 4 years.
Yeah, great job, Lakina, this week. Great job with Old School TV Monday. And I'll give you the baton again very soon.
I try.
But in the meantime, in between time, please take us home.
You can follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, like you was going to be on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Cindy Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, at CK80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WAR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more time, as Lakina would say, catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And we will provide. And I also want to give a quick shout out to our CHGO friends and fam. They're celebrating their 2-year anniversary.
Yay!
We've had a lot of their guys on there. Big Dave Watson, Matt Peck, Jared Willis, Gray Boyson. So hopefully we'll have even more
Casey
of those.
sent her too.
Oh, Casey too. I've got to girl Casey. I'm sorry, Casey. Love you, sweetie. Yeah. Hopefully we'll have them. Well, I'm sure we'll have them back on. Hopefully we'll have more of the people from there back on as well. So I want to give a quick shout out to the CHGO family as ever their 2-year anniversary.
Yeah, we gotta grab some of their Bears people too. They owe us an appearance on this show.
Yes, they do. We're getting already Herb Howard on that. We gotta get him on that. But of course you can Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. I'll do this one more time for this is for our Christine Manica, of course, for her buddy her guy Liam Hendricks. But of course you catch Second City Sports. Just go to the Roku TV app. Wherever app store that you have and whatever device you got, just type in Sports Zone Chicago is right there for you. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, What's Up Cuz, other stuff we got coming up as well. It's all right there for you.
Yes, and we will provide.
All right, enjoy the the big conferences they finished up this week. Of course, the small conferences they started this week for both the men and the women. So make sure you guys check that out as well. Of course, the basketball. Of course, if you're into it, more spray trade baseball, and we'll keep you all updated on all the stuff that's going on out there. For the Bears and NFL and so much more. We're gonna have it right there for you. For Sid, I'm the Kansas of Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. Be safe out there, folks, and we'll see you Friday.
It's a living holla.